In this lecture video, we're going to talk about errors in Python. There are syntax errors, which basically means what you've typed is not a valid program. There's a problem with syntax. Runtime error means you run the program and then there's a problem. And logical errors means the program runs and it does something, but it's not correct. So we're going to take a look at different examples and what they look like. And right. Okay. So there's a link, and we'll put a link in the description of the video, but this is a summary of the different types of errors and how we fix them. All right, so I'm going to start with a file, and we'll go with a syntax error to see what it looks like. All right, so this is a program that I'm going to try to run, and tell me what is the syntax error. We'll put this so that we can see that while we try to run it. Okay, so now I'm going to try to run this. All right, so the first thing about syntax errors is to actually read the message. So inside of this file on line 2, there's a syntax error, unexpected end of file while parsing. All right, so it says the problem is on line 2. If we look over here, this is the second line. And so that's where it got confused, and that doesn't mean that's where the problem is, because here the problem is that we need to have a right parenthesis. So if we try to run that now, it says hello. I'm going to put the mistake back in there. That's the mistake. Okay, and this is true also for square brackets and quotes. If you have a single quote, you need to have a matching single quote. They come in pairs. Okay, so that's one type of error and what the error message looks like, and it's important to note that the error message is not necessarily exactly where the problem is. It just means that that is the line number where the interpreter got confused. All right, let's take a look at another one. Another type of syntax error. Now, we haven't done for loops, but this is going to be a syntax error, and I want to put it in the error video. Okay, so what this is supposed to do is it's supposed to have a variable I that's going to go through. Let's make it like this instead. All right, so it's going to go through the numbers 1, 2, 3, and we want to print them. Let's see what the error message looks like. All right, in our file, line 3, syntax error. Again, it gives us unexpected EOF while parsing, and line 3 is here. So again, that's not where the problem is. For this one, the problem is that the way a for loop works is you have this stuff here is okay, but then there's supposed to be some lines that are indented. Now if I run it, okay, so that is not the right error message because I'm running syntax error 1. we should be running syntax error 2. Okay, so now we get our different error. Line 2, and this says indentation error, expected an indenting block. And that's exactly what the problem is. Let's try to run it now. That's what the output should be. Okay. Let's see. Right, so let's just take a look at one more. And let's say that I want to do maybe 25 over 3. Okay, so tell me, what is the error here? It's supposed to be doing 25 divided by 3. Alright, so error in that file on the second line, unexpected character after line continuation character. So this here, you may not know what that means, but you do look at line 2, and the mistake here is this instead of this. So this is the divide character, not this one. They're different. All right, and this character here is actually the line continuation character. All right, so that is that. Okay, so your basic strategy, if it gives you an error, is you have to read the error message and then go look at that part of the code. And know that it won't necessarily tell you exactly the line where the problem is. It only tells you where it got confused. All right, so next type of error is a runtime error. So a runtime error means you do have a valid program, but then when you run it, it's a problem. So there's 2 steps to the interpreter. It checks to see that your program follows the rules of matching parenthesis, and if you have a plus, then you need to have 2 things on either side of it. But then there's some problem when it runs. Okay, so we'll go ahead and put this one in here. Okay, so what do you think is going to happen if we run this program? First we see a 1, which means the program started. So there we see a 1. X is 1, and then we print, and then we get an error, name Y. So it's in this file on line 3. The name Y is not defined, and it printed the line, that line of code that was the problem. So that's right here. There is no variable called Y. Okay, so let's see if it would be different to have this. Now that's a syntax error for sure. You can't just have a Y and then a Z. So when we do it this way, there's no 1, right? So I ran it here, it didn't print the 1. Here it didn't even try to run the program. It found out that there was a problem before it even tried. Okay, so that's the difference between a syntax error and a runtime error. Syntax, you know that this is not going to work no matter what the variables are. With a syntactically correct program, Python isn't sure if there's going to be a Y variable because maybe the print function sets up a Y variable. It doesn't know. Okay, so with a runtime error, You'll again get a line number where it got confused or ran into trouble, and that's not necessarily where your problem is, where your mistake is. Next type of error I want to look at is a logical error, and we'll say something about dealing with logical errors and runtime errors. So I'm going to put this code in. Okay, a logical error means the program will run potentially all the way through, but it just gives the wrong answer. All right, so I want to take 1 plus 2 plus 3 over 3. That is the formula for the average, and now I want to run it. All right, and 4 is not the right answer. It should have given me 2. And what is the reason? The reason here is order of operations. It's going to do the division first and then the additions. For an average, what we really want, it should have been x plus y plus z over 3. Okay, so here's where we have code that runs, it just gives the wrong answer. All right, so for both logical errors and runtime errors, so for a runtime error, you'll get a line number, and it may be that you can tell what the problem is, but it may be that you can't. And for a logical error, the program runs all the way through and you get the wrong answer. And there's sort of two basic strategies that you can use in any programming language. So the first one is print debugging. With print debugging, you would start printing things. You might start printing every time a variable changes, just to make sure that everything is as you expect. So I'm expecting to see a line that prints x equals 1, a line that prints y equals 3, a line that prints y equals 2 and z equals 3. I see those. Okay, so at least those are what I think they should be. But I still get this 4.0, and maybe I still don't see what the problem is. So now I'm going to print something else. So I'll print this x plus y plus z. That's 6, just like I expect it to be. And now it's very close. Hopefully I would start paying attention and notice the problem. All right, but this is print debugging. So in print debugging, you start printing a lot of stuff, and you want to print things even if you think they're obvious, that it's definitely true, because sometimes you'll think something is obvious and is true, but then you print it and it's not what you think it should be. And then you look at your code a bit more and see where the problem is. Another strategy that doesn't really apply to this program is disabling things. So if I had a very complicated program that was doing a lot of stuff, I might start commenting out lines. For this program, we don't really need to do that because it's a short program, but we might start commenting things out and just having the smallest part of it run and see that it's okay, and then start adding things back in. And it's the same kind of process where you want to start with something that you know absolutely is true, and then start adding back in, and eventually you get to a point where you added something back in and you think it should work, but it doesn't. Okay, so